Good afternoon. Welcome back to 2 p.m. with the Trigger. It's Tuesday, a beautiful sunny day, and just winding down another day long summit. Today, a 1 day summit with Market Appeal, one of my partners that we work with here at Rock the Stage Media. We have various summits on different topics, and Shannon Peel is the creator, the founder, the CEO of Market Appeal. Good afternoon, Shannon, again.
Hello.
So Shannon and I have spent the last several hours together doing our virtual event today. It was the Embrace Equity Summit or workshop. Beyond was last week. Embrace was this week. Keep my words straight. But it was 5 different speakers live today and talking about this equity, inclusion, our changing world, and mindset. A lot of stuff from 5 different speakers, Shannon.
It was. It was. I definitely prefer the 3 speaker over the 5 speaker. It's because it just ends up being so much information to process in one day. And that's why the book is such a great idea.
Yeah. So out of this, besides the live speakers, there is a interactive book that Market Appeal is putting together. It features the video, the content. So if you did not see the event, you still can get the experience of the event. But Shannon, there's a ton more. And we even had one speaker that had so much content, we couldn't even fit it in. So we know
Yeah.
right there, there's bonus content, right?
Yes, and they've all sent me more content to put into the book. So, they gave us so much information on embracing equity and what that means and how important it is to the future of work, especially in the corporate uh, the corporate workforce, or even the smaller medium-sized workforces, anywhere where you have a manager or leader who leads a team and needs to get that team to not only produce and be effective, but to stay with the company. And
Well,
there's a
and
lot of great ideas.
and that was one of the things that was very interesting. Mindset was one of the big conversations of this whole embrace equity. Is there's a lot of mindset shifts by managers, by leaders, by onboarding employees. The mindset conversation was we have to shift how we think to even get into the discussion. Were you ready for that or not ready for the whole mindset conversation?
Well, I didn't realize mindset would be a part of the conversation, though I'm not sure why I didn't, because it totally made sense when they started talking about it. Because it is about changing the way that we believe, the way that we think, the way that we judge and evaluate others, and then also in how we speak to others. We've come a long way, but work has changed so much from 50 years ago. It's changed a lot just in the last 20 years. And embracing equity is, it's an important part if you want to keep really strong, good employees in place. However, there was one thing that really shocked you, and that was what Simone said about the virus and what had happened during COVID. Do you
So
remember?
I did not. So I did not see the virus set women back, and I think she said 30 years.
40 years.
40. Okay. She said the virus, because of the progression, the growth, the businesses, now the dissolving of corporate businesses, the great exodus, it's now set women back 40 years on where they were currently growing and scaling. Yeah, that did shock me because I did not even think about as businesses are closing, offices are shutting down, there's less opportunities, or they've reshuffled the pieces where the good old boy club comes back again.
Well,
Amazing.
it's also because women felt the pressures of being mothers and women. So if they were in a leadership role, and trying to do it from home, they said, okay, can't do it, have to focus on my family to get us through this crisis, and then I can go back into the workforce. Now, as somebody who has made that decision before, it isn't easy to go back into the workforce once you've made the decision to put your family first. And because all of a sudden that's seen as a black mark against you, whether you're female, but especially if you're male And I think that's the part of the conversation that we really need to start having as well. We talk about how we need to get women equity. We need to get them to the parallel, like everyone on the right pay scale. We need to start seeing them as valuable members of the organization. But as we grow, as these generations are now coming into these leadership roles, I'm talking about the younger millennials and the Gen Z are coming into the workforce, the older millennials are coming up. They've got a different value system when it comes to family. They've got a very, very different value system on that work-life balance, because we've been talking about that for a number of years. And men are taking time to be with their families and putting their family first and work second. And they're being judged worse than if a woman had done that. And
No,
that,
that's exactly where I was going to go. So yeah, so the 40-year setback, but at the same time, men have woken up during the pandemic to say, I like playing ball with my kids. I like grilling outside and being home. I like the not having the 80-hour week grind. A lot of the men have stepped back and realized this is healthier, this is more balanced. So the equity now question goes back and forth. Are we going to give men the same equal opportunity that the women have to opt out and make that life change style? It's an interesting conversation on all sides of the coin now.
you know what, I have that conversation numerous times. And as long as we look at it as a competition, as a us versus them. So feminism, when it started, had to be combative. It had to be women coming together and pushing for rights and vilifying the male that was in those leadership power roles. And it definitely became we're coming in and we're going to now try to take some power from you. And whenever we do this, wars throughout history, humans, when we do that, when we go to war, when we take power from somebody, we want to then punish them for what they did to us. If we have that attitude, we're never going to have equality. We're never going to have equity. It's very important to understand that as we bring women up into the workforce, as we bring women into these power roles and start embracing the feminine, and I'm not saying, when I say feminine, I'm not talking about women and men. I'm talking about those traditionally feminine characteristics, those characteristics
Yes.
that we see as feminine, like compassion. When Shirin was talking about these words and how we place them in either negative or positive based on their gender, compassion, if was surprising, because if we call a man compassionate, that could be seen as a negative. Whereas when we call a woman compassionate, it's seen as a positive. And it's the opposite when we talk about ambitious. So positive for men, negative for women. We need to stop and start saying, okay, you know what? Feminine and masculine need to balance in everyone. And we need to really bring that forward. And we need to look at what do men need and women need in the workplace. But it's going to take another generation or two before we can really fully get there.
And I jumped in during one of the interview discussions they were having late in the morning that I sense there's a different vibe than that 70s woman power description that you just gave again very well. It was almost like in your face. This equity discussion we're having seems a little bit more civilized, more let's open up the conversations and let's come around and really wrestle with this politely. We can be different and have our voices be heard and not weaken our voice, but it seems like we're just doing better this time around to have a more serious conversation. And do you agree on that?
Well,
Does this feel different than what we went through when, I was a
you
teenager
know,
when it was first going on? It was explosive.
yeah, I was very young. I don't remember any of it. But so when I look at that, when you look throughout history, we have wars. So we have the people coming in and saying, we want to break down the establishment, revolutions, that kind of thing. We want to break it down. So they come in and it's very combative. Then we go through a period of peace and rebuilding where you got first it was the League of Nations, which was a disaster. Then it was but that was a disaster because it was very revenge based, reparations based. Then we got the UN, which was more what you're talking about, let's come together and solve these problems together and work together. And that's where the feminist movement is at the moment. I think we've gone past the war, let's break down the walls. And now we're on the other side of those walls. We're sitting at those tables and we're like, okay, we need more people at these tables, but now we have to work within the system in order to change the system from within instead of battering down the walls just to get in. I think that's where we're at right now. We're really just, let's get in. We're in there now. We need to work within the system to change it from within. And that takes cooperation. It takes collaboration. It takes conversation.
We're not doing Jane Fonda marching with a sign anymore. For those of us that remember that, drop it in the chat if you remember Jane Fonda and all that
yeah,
stuff.
Jane
Please
loves to protest. Jane loves to protest. I live in downtown Vancouver, and there is a whole, there is a whole section of the community that loves to protest. And this is how silly it is. Okay. So they go by my apartment so I can see them. So you've got one day, you've got one side going down the apartment down, and then people coming up behind them on the other side, honking and trying to aggravate them. The next week, you've got those people that were aggravating, they're going by and protesting, and the people on the other side are going behind them trying to aggravate them. And nothing is getting done. There is no collaboration. There's no conversation. There is nothing but us versus you. And that's a lot of these. You can see it in the world today. It's very us versus them. It's this diverse, this break, because they're trying to break down a wall. There's a wall that they see that they're trying to break down because they want to get in on the other side. It's, as long as it's there, as long as you're combative, people are going to be defensive. With this equity conversation, with what we were talking about today, we've gone past this blaming. We've gone past the shaming. We've gone past the finger pointing, and we're at the table and we're having conversations in order to figure out how everyone can benefit going forward.
Well, it is today's example, the Embrace Equity Summit with 5 different speakers. We were rolling up our sleeve, digging in, and it was good. They had different perspective, angles, and it was all done in a way that we could hear, we could listen, we could respond to it. Market appeal is the force behind this. Is a QR code right there, and that takes you to the group. Shannon is working out and building out a community with multiple events coming up. I get to hang out and do all the emceeing and hosting and having fun with Shannon. But Shannon, tell us about the group, because the group is so fun and it is already getting active. It's popping. People are engaging in the market appeal communities.
Yes, especially the beyond trauma people are.
Last week's event was incredible.
That was an incredible event, but these people have already come together. They're already in the community. They're already building those connections and being engaged. And that's what I would love for every community. Like the Standout Summit, it has a community group. The Embrace Equity, they will have a community group. So each of these events gets their own community group. And then there's just a big one, right? Like one that anybody can join. You don't have to have bought a ticket or the book. You can just join and engage. But the thing is it's supposed to create a community that shares a certain interest or wants to know more about a certain topic, or they have a solution, or they have a problem. And they're coming into the community specifically either to find a solution or to provide a solution, or to have a conversation around that topic. So I want them to be very safe, which is why it is attached to purchasing of the book or a ticket to be a part of each of those communities. Now, the free communities, anyone can join and be a part of a bigger conversation, which, you can connect with people, create your profile, make sure that people can find you.
And we do these summits, we do these events, and it rolls into community and rolls into more and more and more. It's a great way to get involved. So we do have more events coming up, more on the calendar. We have one for men coming up. We have more on the media brand of you coming up. And the fun thing is that Shannon has made this. If you have a topic, if you have an idea, come talk to us, let us know. And then Shannon and I will plug in the calendar from the best time, and we'll help build you out your summit. And we will be the power engines behind your summit. It's a lot of work to do this. And some people have great ideas, but they don't know how to build it and construct it. Shannon knows how to do that. I know how to run them.
Yeah, I have a
And so we're blending our
whole
powers together.
process. Yeah, it's a process. It's a whole process. And I have I have this, if you want to be a presenter and you're not really sure when or what topic you want to talk on, I have a list that you can get on, and I send out every once in a while saying, "Hey, I have a new summit. Are you interested in talking about this topic?" So if you want to, just head on over to marketappeal.com, click on the green one, folks, the green apple peel. And in there, you'll find call for speakers. And all the information is there about how you can become a Market Appeal presenter.
Reach out to Shannon. She's over there. There were links earlier in our discussion here today that were highlighting her. She's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And of course, if you hit that QR button right there, you will learn more. Coming up tomorrow night on How to Rock the Stage, we're back again with another wonderful show. You don't want to miss it. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We go live streaming on many of these same channels and platforms that we're on right now. Every day we're streaming on multiple outlets, because we're here to help you shine on camera, shine on stage, help you elevate you and your brand authority through these summits and through other events, because you are a go-to expert and you need to be seen and heard. Reach out, contact me about more questions and how you can do that. rich@richbontrager.net. That's the email right there. It goes directly to me. I promise to follow up with you personally. rich@richbontrager.net. We'll be back tomorrow with another 2 p.m. live on the